In this video, we'll dive into common mistakes that you might be doing while speaking in English. So it's a good idea to go through this video and take all these things into account while having conversations in English. Let's go. Confusing it's and its. Let's take an example sentence. The spider spun its web. It's a beautiful web. The it's with an apostrophe always refers to it is or it has. So if you look at this example sentence, you will clearly see that something here is wrong, isn't it? Actually, both of these forms of it's should be the other way around, right? The it's without an apostrophe shows that the web belongs to the spider, but it's with the apostrophe is a short form of it is or it has. Common mistake number 2 is the subject-verb agreement. You may get the verb form wrong because you start to think, how many things am I talking about? So let's have an example mistake. The list of items are on the table. Now, is this correct? There is something fishy about this, isn't it? So if you start thinking about this, the list of items is actually a one single thing that you are talking about. So the verb form are, which is plural, doesn't actually go together with what I'm talking about. So instead of are, I should use the form is. So the correct sentence would be the list of items is on the desk. Common mistake number 3 is the use of the definite article. Sometimes we use the definite article the, and sometimes we do not. And very often it depends on the context. So let's look at an example. Here are 2 sentences that are both correct. The student goes to school and the mother is going to the school. So why are we using the definite article in one sentence and not in the other? The reason is actually quite simple. In the first sentence, the student goes to school as its primary function. That's what students do, they go to school. But in the other sentence, the mother is going to school to do something specific. Maybe their child misbehaved or whatnot. So it's a specific context that we are talking about, so we are using the definite article the. Here is another example. I love dogs doesn't have the definite article in it, but I love the dogs in that picture has the definite article in it because it's something specific that I'm referring to. Common mistake number 4, uncountable nouns. For example, did you know that the noun advice is actually uncountable in English? So it means that you can't use the form an advice when speaking English. You have to use the word advice in a phrase, like a piece of advice or some advice. There are several uncountable nouns in English and you just have to memorize them. So to dive deeper into this, just Google uncountable nouns in English and you will find out more. The confusion between verbs hear and listen. There's actually a big meaning difference when using these verbs. So, for example, if you're using the verb hear, it's something that happens by chance. You can hear birds chirping, for example, or you can hear a car pass you by. It's something that just happens in the environment and you hear this with your ears. But listening to something means that you are giving your attention to a sound. For example, you're listening to music. It's a different focus and probably you see the difference here. Let's look at 2 example sentences. The connection is bad, I can't hear you. Or I listened to the new album by Sting. Question formations with the verb to be. Always keep in mind that when you are forming questions using the verb to be, then you need to take into account the following order of words. First the question word, then the verb to be, then the subject, and then the rest of the sentence. So for example, why is she sad? when to use the past simple or present perfect tenses. We are using the tense past simple when the time of what we are talking about is important and relevant. For example, in 2020, I lived in Paris. But we can use present perfect when the time is not relevant in the sentence that we are saying. So for example, I have lived in Paris. As it is the case with uncountable nouns, with phrasal verbs, you also just need to memorize them and use them correctly when speaking in English. So let's look at 2 phrasal verbs as an example. When you say look for, it means to search for something. And if you say look at, it means to focus your attention on something. So you see that by just changing the preposition that comes together with the verb, the meaning changes. So you need to be thoughtful of that.